On this episode of Moi TV, I'm going to be doing a bit of a deep dive on my favourite 2020 trend prediction, and that is all around behind the scenes, or hashtag the BTS. If this is something that you know you want to begin trying to get more and more into your business messaging, then this is definitely the episode for you. And if you already feel like you're doing so much behind the scenes sharing with your content, with your visuals, then I want to show you how in 2020 this trend is set to evolve a little bit. So keep keeping yourself ahead of the curve and take a look at this. Before we get going into this trend analysis, then I want to make sure that you subscribe to Moi TV. You can do that down here. Make sure that you click on the bell to get notified every single Friday when a new episode comes out, and that way you're not going to miss the third part of this 3-part special all about 2020 predictions. Sharing more and more of the journey behind a business, or sharing how something has been created, has started to grow in popularity in the last couple of years, with even more of a focus on the documentation behind what goes into making a product, or as a leading entrepreneur is going to get more and more immersed in our zeitgeist. It seems, as a human race, we are still fascinated by ourselves. And by that, I mean we want to know all of the nitty-gritty behind the scenes before we make a judgment on whether we like a person, on whether we want to trust a product, or whether we want to try out a new service. This is a hot trend that I think is going nowhere in 2020, and I also predict that over the next decade we're going to see this trend evolve, immerse itself even more into our brains, imaginations, and the way that we interpret visuals. Now, there is still quite a lot of resistance about showing behind the scenes and jumping on this trend, especially with my fellow creative industries. But when you alter your mindset around it, it can be such a winner at gaining an increased respect in your honed skills. Let's think of an imaginary metal worker then. So this particular metal worker has a real modern take on the way that she creates all of her different metal sculptures or pieces in commerce to displays that she has in galleries, right? And she is so on board with the behind the scenes trend that she's open enough to share with you all the different sources of her inspiration. So she might share a particular poem with you on her Instagram feed. She might go to B&Q and love the texture of an anaglypta, or the way that a paint has created a mottled effect, and she shares that with you on Instagram. And then she takes you to the next layer, which is realizing all of these different inspirations in a really cool sketch. And she does a very rough sketch, a little bit more of an in-depth sketch, and then the final piece, which is almost like a blueprint before she goes into the workshop. And all of this is fully documented, so you can see how her creative process has evolved. Jump forward in time then to when this particular metal worker announces that she's running a workshop for everyday members of the public who have no experience whatsoever with metalwork to come along, spend some time with her, get to know her in person, and create this one particular example. Let's just say, for instance, it's a really cool door knocker and you get to go and learn how to do it. She teaches you all of the tricks of her trade. That final customer is going to walk away with a unique door knocker and an experience that has been tied into the fact that they made it. It's going to be a talking point for years to come for them. But from the creative side, that person is walking away with a much deeper respect and knowledge of all of the skills that that metal worker has honed over the years. They are going to be a lot more likely to invest on a bigger scale for a piece of metalwork because they understand the process. This is the real joy of the behind the scenes action when you're in the creative industries. So if you've been reluctant to share it because you're frightened that someone's going to steal your ideas, or they're not going to get the way that you are in your creative funk and groove, then this is something you should definitely think about jumping on and getting more involved with in 2020. I promise you, you will not be sorry. If you're joining us at part 2 of this 3-part special, you might want to go back here and watch the first episode so that you can get into the groove with us and see why I'm deep diving on this trend. You may have also missed my 2019 roundup of all of the visual highlights we've seen over the last year. You can go and take a look at that episode here and then skip back here and join us where we're going to progress even further. It might be that you're watching this video and you feel like you've already jumped on board with the behind the scenes trend in your content and with your visuals in your business. Now this is where it gets really interesting. I think that things are about to evolve and we're going to see the trailblazers like you jump on this and make it their own in 2020. Now when in doubt, I always first go to the fashion industry and see what they're doing and then try to imagine how this will unravel itself and work itself out into the other industries. And that is exactly what I've done for this episode when it comes to behind the scenes. So what we're seeing with some really good fashion campaigns in the last season and the seasons coming is this idea of a multi-angle behind the scenes. It's not just one behind the scenes take with the final product, it's lots and lots and lots of different layers, which actually fits beautifully with what I said about the layered look in the last episode. We have a conceptual idea there, but it shows you lots of different ways that something has been created. So let's just try and realize this in the mind and goals of an entrepreneur in the online world. Imagine some really highly stylized video footage of you putting the final touches to a book that you want to release later on in the year. This is video footage of just you working in your office, maybe in PJs if that's how you work, with your pet next to you and a bunch of snacks because you really want to get to the deadline. You're then going to layer in a whole other angle from a whole other day where you're behind the scenes at your photo shoot for the cover of your book. So in that footage, you're going to see you talking with a makeup artist, you might be having a conversation with your photographer, maybe you're there showing the lighting and the way that it's going to look with a bit of a sketch, that kind of thing. And while that is being filmed, you're also live recording it on your Instagram stories, so that we're now talking about 3 layers. Then when you've wrapped on your actual cover, you're going to have your whole creative team jump in for a set of pictures. So that's going to be you, the person who edited the words, the person who designed the words, your publisher, maybe your web person's going to be there, maybe you've got a bestie or a family member along for moral support, the stylist, the makeup artist, all of the crew are going to jump in for one big selfie to capture the moment of you capturing the moment of the book cover. We're now talking 4 layers. Roll forward a couple of months then in the timeline of this imaginary entrepreneurial campaign for dropping a book, and this has all been edited together into one beautiful video that shows the journey from concept to writing to launching the book. When that advert goes out, you will already have a giant bunch of people who've been following this in real time who will then jump on it and share with their friends because they are your brand advocates about this new book. And wow, look at this. This is everything she's been through when she was writing this book. Isn't it incredible? I'm so going to pre-order that, or I'm so going to order 5 of those because they're going to make great copies for my girlfriends this year. And that advert will encapsulate every angle. You better believe it that you're going to then document the reaction to that advert going up, and on and on and on and on the behind the scenes levels go. And this is all inspiration from the fashion industry, who now have models creating their own content when they're on a shoot and showing all of the behind the scenes action, from the clothing being made to being on the shoot and having it shot to it then being in the stores. It's totally amazing, and I really think it's going to go cool for the trailblazers in the entrepreneurial space this year. And I think if the right trailblazing entrepreneur jumps on this, it could have a dramatic impact on the way that we all understand using the behind the scenes concept in our businesses and documenting the journey that we're on as entrepreneurs.
Now before you go anywhere, don't forget to subscribe. Mwah.